So just a stoppage here because a couple of players have made their way down onto the pitch. And this is entirely unacceptable.
Stick them in jail. Why not? Give them a record.
Every Australian who loves football, and there's millions of us, today is saying, just get the hell out.
Oh my God, no!
It's been an ugly weekend for the beautiful game.
It's disheartening, it's saddening, it's infuriating.
Football making headlines for all the wrong reasons. But just days ago, the World Game was on a high. The heroism of the Socceroos at the World Cup capturing the imagination of Australian sports fans.
It feels like it's gone in a cycle. It's a little bit of hope and then it's a bit of disappointment.
But issues within football in Australia have been simmering under the surface for more than a decade, and pundits have warned the game's viability is under threat.
Come on,
This is football at its most pure. A world away from controversies surrounding the game, Bobby and his mates are lapping up the joy of a kick at the local park.
I just feel happy doing what I love to do, taking on plays, scoring goals, just doing what I love doing.
All three of these high school graduates have shown promise, but Bobby will travel to the UK next year to try his hand at reaching the top leagues of Europe. But his football odyssey nearly ended before it started because his parents, migrants from the African nation of Guinea, could hardly afford the exorbitant fees associated with playing in the top local leagues.
I've had a trial and the club have told me straight away I have to pay like some ridiculous amount of money. And I told my parents, and my parents said that they will help me as well with the payment plan and they will figure out a way to pay my fees as well. And I also had to find a job as well to also help and provide with the fees.
He says many young football lovers he grew up with in Melbourne public housing showed promise but opted for other sports due to the cost.
I have some few friends, they can't play football because of the money and they can't make it. The parents can't help them and they struggle to play in the systems.
Fees for junior football can be up to $2,500 a year, and football broadcaster Lucy Zelic says it's keeping the best young athletes out of the sport.
Now where we are, post-pandemic, where the cost of living is through the roof and things have really started to escalate in that sense, what are we doing to make the game accessible to all young children, to all Australians? The short answer is we're actually not doing enough. And that then pushes things back onto our administrators.
And a break here for Riley McGree.
Lucy Zelic says football administrators in Australia haven't capitalised on the success of the national team.
The question after has always been, what have we done to try and take advantage of this, to capitalise on the success, to create a future legacy in Australian football, to demand that we're in a situation where we're creating a better future for the game?
Football's top league here, the A-League, was formed in 2005 through a partnership with the federal government and billionaire Frank Lowy, after a report recommended the closure of the National Soccer League, which had been marred by several incidences of violence. But Lucy Zelic believes the league and the now separate body, Football Australia, have failed to broaden the popularity of the game due to a number of decisions that put money before fans.
Put the customer first. The customer continues to finish last in Australian football, and they have done for a number of years. We continue to gouge fans, families going to games with ticket prices.
Bring the World Cup to the world's greatest playground.
5 years after the formation of the A-League, administrators in Australia were dreaming big, gunning for the rights to host a World Cup.
The winner is Qatar.
$46 million was spent on a futile bid to bring the cup down under.
They thought too big. They thought, yes, generally, and I remember Frank Lowy and the FFA management team thinking, we are a genuine hope of getting this World Cup.
Author and broadcaster Adam Peacock says the focus on winning the hosting rights for a World Cup was short-sighted.
It felt like attention which was really required on the A-League to double down on that, and the week-to-week popularity of the sport didn't quite get that focus that it required. They were off doing other things, and yeah, the government support and the youth development especially was left to kind of drift.
Former player, now commentator Andy Harper believes administrators have done their best in difficult circumstances. It's government that has let the game down.
It is the most important sport we play. And so the first step we have to do is accept that. The second thing we have to do, like with the stroke of a pen, is make sure that at the very least the public funding for soccer football is at least on par. It's at least parity with other sports.
Football is Australia's most popular game by participation numbers, but federal funding falls behind other sports. A recent ABC analysis revealed the sport in Queensland was receiving less money than its rivals. Andy Harper says it means the bulk of the work falls to volunteers.
But the more international your sports are, the less reasonable it is to expect volunteers to recruit and nurture international standard talent. When the fighting is getting serious internationally, because one thing we know for sure, other countries aren't outsourcing the identification and the development of their best talent to well-meaning volunteers.
He says the lack of funding has also meant a shortfall in proper football infrastructure for the players and volunteers to work in.
No facilities, inadequate playing resources, change facilities that you wouldn't put stray dogs in.
From the grassroots to the grandstands, the beautiful game is at a critical juncture.
We're in danger of becoming a cottage industry as far as sport's concerned in Australia, which just does not reflect our national psyche.
It's a tragic moment, and I hate that we're here in Australian football because, again, we have so much potential.